Vox Box Star Wars Comic Book Podcast, Episode 29. It's Cyborg versus Cyborg action, action, action!
What is thy bidding, my master?
There is great disturbance in the force.
The Vox Box Star Wars Podcast, your source for Star Wars comics, news, and more. And now your host, Michael Corley.
Welcome back to Vox Box Star Wars Comic Book Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Corley. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we are covering Star Wars number 29. It is titled Dark Encounter. We open with the inside of an Imperial ship. Someone is crying out. Someone who is being interrogated. We see an officer telling two stormtroopers to turn around. He's saying, "You're supposed to be at attention. Don't tell me veteran stormtroopers haven't heard screams before." We cut to a full view of Darth Vader. He is interrogating a victim. He's saying, "The ability to resist is always fascinating, isn't it, Wormus?" That is his second in command on the ship. Wormus is asking to be excused, that he has a touch of indigestion. We don't see what has been done to the spy that Darth Vader is interrogating, but we are led to believe that it is making Wormus want to throw up. The spy is revealing a name of Tyler Lucian. Who is Tyler Lucian? We don't know, but we cut to a city where a man who might know where this Lucian is, and another man is looking for him. This man we recognize as Valance. The person trying to hide Tyler is reaching under the table for a blaster. Valance, with his cybernetic arm, reaches through the table and crushes the man's hand. He then turns around and blasts the other people in the bar who are bringing out their weapons. One of them manages to shoot Valance in the face. This does not kill him, as we know part of his face is cybernetic. He turns back to the person whose hand he is currently crushing, and he says, "Now, you were about to tell me something, weren't you?" Two stormtroopers stop him on the way out and demand his identification. He shows it to them, and they demand to see his face. He has covered it with a cowl to cover where the blast has blown away his skin. When they see it, one of the stormtroopers says, "I thought I saw a glint of metal. He's a Borg, a miserable cyborg trying to pass." Now he is committed. He kills both of the stormtroopers with his hand laser, and he thinks to himself that he's committed in a race against Darth Vader to find this Tyler Lucian. We cut to a planet that was once a pleasure resort in the days of the Old Republic, but it has been heavily mined until the lakes became polluted and disgusting. We see some of the pleasure resort guest towers that have fallen into disrepair. None other than Tyler Lucian is standing at the docks looking at his own reflection. He's thinking to himself that if he falls into these waters, he would dissolve within minutes. Now, who is Tyler? He was a rebel on the Yavin base, and he fled when the Death Star was approaching. He stole a supply ship. He raced away, and that's when he heard on the transceiver about him, about Luke Skywalker, the T-65 pilot who shut down his computer and put a torpedo into the Death Star's exhaust port unassisted, a mere farm boy from Tatooine. We see that he's telling this to Valance. Valance is telling him that his continuous hiding is about to be over soon, and that's when a TIE fighter comes in over the lake. But it's not just any TIE ship. This is Darth Vader's. Tyler Lucian takes this moment to run into the tower. Valance tries to shoot, but he's already inside. We cut back to the Yavin base, and we see C-3PO. And he's delighted to see that R2-D2 is working again. In the last episode, they were able to get the parts that they needed to fix him. They immediately, of course, begin bickering. Luke Skywalker is complaining to General Dodonna because Leia has gone off on a mission on her own. He's telling him, why would you allow that? She's saying, "Hey, come on, boy. Allow it?" We're talking about Princess Leia here. We cut back to the dock, and Darth Vader is facing down with Valance. He is telling Valance to step aside, but Valance won't have it. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, that it's time for...
Dramatic reenactment.
I believe you, Valance, but the why of it intrigues me. When I first heard of you, we seemed rivals for the same prey. Surely you've noticed. I already am. Why else haven't you been able to fire yet? Why else has your weapon become so heavy? It is impossible for you to hold. How can you fight against the power of the Force?
That great reading of Darth Vader taking on Valance was read by Chris Morse. Chris is a Parsec Award-winning podcaster and creator of Supervillain Corner, a podcast by supervillains for supervillains. He's even had me on twice, once as a superhero and once as a villain. SVC is now in its 3rd season, and I highly recommend you check out Supervillain Corner at supervillaincorner.podbean.com. Thanks, Chris! Valance does a valiant job fighting against Darth Vader. He even manages to bring him to his knees. He manages to destroy the dock in front of Darth Vader, but Darth Vader simply leaps over it. There's a hand-to-hand combat, but Darth Vader slashes open Valance's chest with his lightsaber and begins to make his way to Tyler Lucian. Valance grabs hold of Darth Vader's leg with his cybernetic hand. Vader is saying, "I admire you, Valance. Give this up. Join me. The medics on the cruiser can probably still save you. What good is it to sacrifice yourself?" And Valance is telling him to delay you. That boy that we're both after, he's growing. There's good in him. Someday he'll be your equal or better. Any delay, any favor that I can give him is worth it. And with that, Valance throws himself into the corrosive water below, hoping to drag Darth Vader with him. Darth Vader is starting to go into the water, but he uses his lightsaber to cut off Valance's cybernetic arm, and Valance falls into the corrosive water and is no more. And his last words to do anything to delay Darth Vader, are echoing in the ears of the hiding Tyler Lucian. And that ends! And at that last moment, Tyler Lucian does the only thing that he can do to stop Darth Vader from getting his information. He, too, throws himself into the lake of acid. On the ship, we see Darth Vader talking to General Wormus. And 2 stormtroopers are saying, "Finally, I hate these double shifts. I've been wearing this armor so long, I feel like a blasted Borg, or worse." As they walk off, Darth Vader says to Wormus, "Once we are underway, until I decree otherwise, we are on alert status. Even off-duty personnel will remain in full armor." And the long search begins. And that ends Star Wars number 29. What a cool ending to that. In the comic, it has still not been implicitly said that Darth Vader is a cyborg yet. And yet it is obviously heavily indicated with his breathing, with his augmented strength. And it is clear that this galaxy does not love cyborgs. You have a wonderful day, and may the Force be with you.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
So be it, Jedi.
Thank you for listening to the Vox Box Star Wars podcast. Give us a review on iTunes to help more Star Wars fans find the show. Have a great day, and may the Force be with you.